Hey, how's everybody doing tonight? We are live. Yeah, this is episode number 7 of Calibrated Live with Scott. I'm Scott, of course. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. If you guys are here and you've been here before and you want to go leave me a like, that is the easiest way we can get this live stream out there so more eyes can see it. We get more people in here. I would really appreciate that. And if you're new here and you don't know if you like it yet, don't like it yet. Wait until the end, see how it goes. And then if you appreciate the content, give it a like. If you're following on Twitter right now, hello to everybody on Twitter. Make sure you give my account a follow. It is probably maybe worth it. Maybe. I don't know. That's up to you. Let's go to the map, right? Let's just get right off to it. We got a lot to talk about today. A lot's happened over the weekend. I was planning on doing a live yesterday, but I just got super busy with the football and everything going on, family, well, in-laws technically, but stuff like that going on. So just busy, and but we're here today, so let's get to it. I'm going to start us off with the map. I don't know what I'm looking at right here. Oh, okay. All right. So just zoom us out. Let me turn off the geolocations real fast, at least the Ukrainian ones. I'll leave the Russian ones on because I wanted to look at some. But we have some updates. So obviously, no major global changes that we can see here, but there are some events that we need to talk about. And from the front line around Krynky, we have an update. The bridgehead is almost closed, basically, at this point, at least the urban section of the bridgehead. Remember, basically nothing exists here anymore. I saw a video of this area, and it just looks like a World War I, like the worst shelled out area you've ever seen in your entire life. Tree stumps that are blown apart is basically all that remains in this area. The Ukrainians likely still have presence in this area, this estuary sort of area off the coast, but the Ukrainians are losing their bridgehead here. This is the only position that they have in any urban area with any connection to roads, and that has now almost been completely negated. So Krynky holds, but for how much longer, we don't know. Coming over here to Robotyne, we do have some news. In fact, I haven't updated the map here because I haven't got confirmation of any movements, but Ukrainian sources have basically reported that the Ukrainians have completely pulled out of the Syria line that runs along this area right here. This line was what the Ukrainians had to overcome to be successful in their counteroffensive. They didn't even get really through the security zone. And then in the last couple of months, they really struggled in this southern area right here of this salient to make any progress because they've met the first actual line of defense. And now they have been removed from that. So this area is also on the clock. I don't know how long the Ukrainians are going to stay in Robotyne, but the loss of it is going to be a pretty major morale hit, considering it was the only thing that was really achieved over the entirety of the Ukrainian counteroffensive. Moving over to the southern Donetsk Ugledar area, we do have some updates over here. We have confirmation that this, I found a geolocation that gives us confirmation that this is now under Russian control. We have a repelled Ukrainian assault. Oh, I did not add the picture. Hold on. The picture's not added yet. I'll do that later. But there was a 14-minute video of a Ukrainian assault. And just to give you guys sort of an idea about how these assaults go down, the reason I put this in the gray area is because the Ukrainians have to drive from their nearest positions wherever they are, whether it's, up here, they drive down, probably they have something in here in this area, and they have to drive into, through the gray zone and then close to Russian territory to drop off their guys, and then their guys run this way, and the fighting takes place along this tree line right here and this tree line right here. So that's basically what the Ukrainians are looking at, and that is a very difficult task out in the open. The Russians have dealt with that a lot, and these counterattacks show that the Ukrainians are still trying to hold this area, Novomykhailivka. They really don't want to let it go. So they're counterattacking, trying to reverse these gains. This counterattack was a failure. It was repelled with losses, and that was that. But this video, this geolocation is old. It's new for us, but everything that you see is probably 24, 48, 72 hours late, usually, if not longer. Especially on the Russian side, the footage doesn't really get out as quickly as it does on the Ukrainian side. So the reports of a Ukrainian withdrawal in this area further this way, about 1.5 kilometers. So if we look at here, I'm just going to go from the Russian controlled zone. These are miles, but let's just say right about there. So this would make sense that this is where the Ukrainians have their closest positions, and all of this is basically gray zone, which on the grand scheme of things puts Novomykhailivka in a very, very unenviable position. We'll see how the Ukrainians react to this, but I expect this settlement to be the next settlement that falls, especially with the updates we're getting from this area. I still have this all in the gray zone because I don't have any confirmation on any movements. However, we do have a geolocation here, and this is a Ukrainian tank that was destroyed. Remember, my map is free to access. You guys can find that link. It's no longer in my bio on Twitter. I had to switch it. But if you go on to my Telegram, you can find it in the pinned comments, or just DM me and I'll send you a link. And everybody's free to use this map however they please. So, access it as a resource. But anyway, there's the link there. Here's the coordinates. And we see that this is a destroyed Ukrainian tank, which once again drove from its nearest positions. I would assume potentially back over here in Pereskoukivka, perhaps in Novomykhailivka. This whole area is just leveled, so any vehicle in this area would be a pretty prime target. I think that the vehicle most likely came along this road right here, boop, 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 and then drove basically right up through here. I don't know where the Ukrainians have positions. Probably something in this area is a Ukrainian position, so perhaps just from there to there. And then, as soon as it gets into what I consider the gray zone here, it was destroyed. So, again, this salient is actually a lot worse than it appears. I would say, basically, if I wanted to, I'm not going to right now. I'm going to change it back in just a second. But we could basically put this all into a sort of purple area where there is definitely Russian activity in this area. I just call it the gray zone because I don't have any, geolocatable indicators of Russians being in this area. We do not get a lot of footage from the Ukrainians from this area either. So I'm going to leave this in gray for now, but just for everybody's sort of mental picture of the situation, it looks something like that. So, yeah. I've said for a long time, and I'm going to say it again, Avdiivka, the Russians, when they started here, they might have really been pushing for a quick wrap up of the city. Perhaps they didn't know how dense the Ukrainian minefields were. Perhaps, just the operation, shit happens in operations, right? I don't know if it was necessarily a failure, because if you guys remember when this whole operation kicked off, the Russians, I'm sorry, were in Krasnohorivka, and they needed to push out, right? Controlling this whole area has basically been the struggle of the Russians and the Ukrainians around Avdiivka for months, right? So the Russians pushed out. They secured this high ground right here, which was vitally important to, actually fully secure their positions in Krasnohorivka. And down here in this fields, there's no way the Russians would have been able to push up into this area without capturing this waste heap. So they captured that. The expansion down into this area right here, south of the sewage plant, and the sewage plant itself, is all a result of capturing of this hill. I do believe that the Russians are actually trying to avoid this industrial area for now. The Ukrainians often talk about Russian attacks in this area. They use meat waves a lot. I don't see a lot of evidence for that. I feel like we would see a lot of videos from this area. Every now and then we get like a drone grenade drop from the Ukrainians or something, but nothing significant that would suggest that the Russians are actively attempting to penetrate into this coke plant. I think the major Russian goal is moving through up into these dacha areas towards Orchitny and Novokalinove, securing this whole northern flank. And then once that happens, this whole area will just be strangled. But the Russian goal may have been, I do not know their operational planning, to quickly wrap up Avdiivka. And then what ended up happening is the same thing that happened around Bakhmut. The Ukrainians are now in this pitiful salient. I mean, you can talk to anybody on the planet. Would you rather be surrounding this or inside of this if you're getting shot at with artillery, right? Like that's something that people have to think. What logistics are easier, coming out of Donetsk right to this front line, or coming down through Orlivka, down through here into Avdiivka and supplying this front line, right? So it's a lot more dangerous. There's fire coming in from both ways. It is just a salient. It's a fire pocket, and the Ukrainians are moving all of their reserves to two areas up in the north around Kharkov in the Sinkivka area, and then down around Avdiivka. They have concentrated a ton of their reserves in these areas to hold these places, and again have fallen into the same trap that Bakhmut was, where this is not a tenable place to hold. This is horrible from any military standpoint. This is a disaster to find yourself in. The Ukrainians are talking about how they can't even retreat from this salient now because if they do, they will take tremendous losses on the way out. I believe that's why Zelensky went and visited this area, was to try to, reestablish. He often does this before places fall, before the fighting gets really bloody and hard. And basically before anybody, right before everybody's like, okay, we need to get out of here, he'll go and reassure everybody, reposition himself as like the, I don't know, that this is his sphere of influence. We're doing this. We're staying here. We're fighting. And he's coming to bolster morale, I guess you would say. But it's more like check in on all of the commanders in the region and make sure they're still loyal to him and they're going to listen to him and hold Avdiivka at any cost. It is more of how I see it. He did the same thing in Lysychansk, did the same thing in Bakhmut, and now he's doing it down here. So the Russians are now trapping a large concentration of Ukrainian units, artillery, stuff like that around here, fixing them, I would say, not necessarily trapping them. They're on the outside, but they're fixed, trying to fight this bad battle, right? It's like a cost worth ratio that's just not really benefiting the Ukrainians. It's benefiting the Russians. So they're going to continue. I'm not saying they're keeping this open on purpose, but the Ukrainians are bringing men in and dying here, trying to push everything back, keep the salient open the same way they did in Bakhmut. And it's going to cost them severely. And one of the areas that is costing them severely is in the southern Donetsk area, where I believe the Russians are going to capture Novomykhailivka and probably Pobeda before Avdiivka falls. That's my anticipation for the coming months into the summer. All right, let me see here. Just check the comments, make sure everybody's doing good. Everybody doing good? Cool. All right. Now we're going to the Avdiivka area, where I had already talked about everything, but there was some slight progress right here. The Russians expanded their zone of control south of the sewage treatment plant, down into this sort of estuary. I don't know, just fields kind of on the outside of town. There's a small dacha area around here. So, they're chilling. But the goal for the Russians should be, and that's what the direction it seems they're heading, is to cut this line of supply right here, basically cut off the coke plant from the rest of this Avdiivka salient, and then potentially close this salient. Once this salient is, start pushing in from all the sides. Once this salient collapses, once all those really difficult frontline positions no longer exist, then assault the coke plant, which I imagine will probably be left without much of a fight, just considering if this is gone, holding this doesn't make any sense, and then pushing out into these settlements. So this right here is the goal right now. I do believe cut this. If you can cut this, if you can get into this area and make this impossible to transit, then the bottom of the salient becomes impossible to hold. Okay. Around Bakhmut, we have a few changes, nothing really significant. We have another advance towards Ivanivsky. They're getting very close now to the actual settlement. Like I said, I believe that this will be another fight that's going to be beginning very soon. We have references in Russian pro-Russian sources reporting that there have been advances in Avdiivka. I haven't seen any proof yet, so the map won't change until I do. And then other than that, I think everything is pretty stable. I just wanted to point something out on the map so I don't have to come back to it. This area right here has become just a death zone in terms of Lancet hits. We have seen so many videos from this area trying to support this Krynky bridgehead, and I'm going to show you a little picture of this. Basically, it's just this of this map, and then it shows you kind of the area where the Lancet strikes have been happening. That's on my Twitter. I'll show you guys that a little bit later. But that's it's a significant graveyard of Ukrainian artillery and vehicles that are supporting this operation right here. All right. That's enough of the map today. Oh, let's see. Let's do Twitter. Let's go look at some stuff on Twitter real fast. I have some stuff to talk about, and then we'll get into the all the Iran stuff in just a second. I know everybody's kind of dying to hear about that, but let's see. We have some more stuff to talk about with Ukraine real fast, because that's the area I cover particularly. That's where I feel like I have more expertise. And then the other stuff I give my comments on, but it's not necessarily as refined. All right. So let's go through. Am I not live on Twitter? I'm supposed to be. Hold on. Let me refresh this. Nope. Did I not go live on Twitter? Sweet. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Sweet, 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 sweet. I don't know why that really sucks. Is anybody on Twitter? Can anybody see me on Twitter? It says I'm live. Is there anybody from Twitter on here? Maybe I just can't see it. I don't know. All right. So coming down here, we had reports. Okay, here's that Lancet thing. Just before I get off topic here, here's the Lancet. You can see where the epicenter strikes are mostly happening. Remember, Krynky is the area that's being supported. This is the main logistics area for Krynky in this area. And you can see here, this is where most of the Lancet strikes have happened. And then this is the broader area where they're happening. So there have been extensive Lancet strikes in this area, really, really degrading the Ukrainian fighting capability around this area. Here's that updated map from Syriac, just if you guys wanted another source that kind of shows a similar thing. This is basically the only area that remains. On their map, they have these fields. I don't know where they get that information from. I think there was probably a single geolocation that was maybe out over here that they got that from, but I'm not exactly sure about their sourcing for that. I just have it up against the city. Here's a Lancet hit. And then, oh yes, and then this is very important. This is a lieutenant general of the AFU. He was a pilot. He still flew apparently at the age of 65. I don't know if that was because of the SMO. or if he was just still flying. You know, some things are kind of lost in translation. But we have he passed away. They don't say from what. But there have been a number of recent strikes involving Kinjals on Ukraine. He was a active pilot by the sounds of it, and he has died of unknown causes. And they say that he passed away on the 10th, which was a night of a Russian missile strike. So possible that he died. As you can see, he took a direct part in the hostilities in Afghanistan, loved the sky, easily conquered it. He did not live to live. I don't know what that means. Remember its translation. Have an easy flight, Mr. General. You are forever. Stay in the armed forces. Yeah. So there, it's a significant loss. Here's a picture of his funeral, so you guys know it's not just a story. It actually happened. And you know that's pretty. That's very significant. Yeah. Still nobody on Twitter, huh? Let's see. Oh, no, I am live. Oh, okay, there we go. Sweet. Cool. I think I was live. Awesome. Awesome possum. All right. Anything else here? Oh, yes, we have our first Abrams spotted with ERA, explosive reactive armor. So when a projectile hits this actually explodes outward and sort of reverses the explosion and protects the tank. You cannot put ERA on things like, if you ever see memes about ERA being on like vans or stuff like that, it doesn't work because the skin is too soft. The explosion would actually just do more damage to the inside of the vehicle. Same with light armored infantry fighting vehicles and APCs. You can't put ERA on it. Mostly just tanks. Oh, here's that video that I was talking about. Basically, I mean, this is just nightmare, right? You can't see anything with the fog too, so it's not the best look, but that's the area that the Ukrainians hold. Other than that, I just wanted to actually talk about an event that happened today. So this morning, last night, sort of for me, but in terms of Ukraine, we had some rumors, some very odd things started happening with these two aircraft, surveillance aircraft, reconnaissance aircraft of the Russian aerospace forces, a IL-7 or an IL-22, which we do have confirmation that it was hit and returned and landed, as well as a Russian A-50, which is its AWACS reconnaissance aircraft, a very, very pivotal piece of the Russian military. According to Wikipedia, they have 9 of them, so potentially 8 now. But you know, those numbers are from 2021. That's before the SMO began. I have no idea what their production is. They're also talking about bringing into production the A100, which is a better version of the A50. So that's already on the docket for 2024. We'll see if that happens. But we had reports that the IL-22 and the A50 were shot down. Those were the initial reports. Later, it came out that the IL-22 landed back at its base, and I will show that now because we have video or a picture of the actual aircraft and the damage it sustained. Why can't I see this? There it is. All right, so here's that picture. As you can see, it took some pretty significant damage to the tail section. The crew compartment also took damage over here, so we don't exactly know. There were reported injuries. I don't know if there were any fatalities from this exact event. It does, obviously, it appears to be anti-air fire. You can see just by the shrapnel holes. Was it friendly fire is the question, or was it a Patriot system? If you look at the map, the Patriot has a max range of about 160 kilometers. They were pretty far to the range of where a Patriot could be in Ukraine, even if they brought it right up to the front line. They were still really far. I'm not saying it's impossible that this happened. It could be possible, but I haven't seen. I mean, it could be either. I personally think it was a friendly fire incident that caused this. The Russians were on alert. The Crimean bridge had been shut down because of a missile alert. So I do believe this is a friendly fire incident. As for the A-50, there was some weird reporting by. Hold on, let me bring up my Telegram here. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. All right. So here you guys can see fighter bomber. All right. So this was fighter bomber's page, and he actually posted what people took as the confirmation, right? Is it gonna load? Hello. Okay, so this is what he posted that people took for the confirmation, right? And this is kind of interesting to me. I was trying to figure out what exactly this meant. I translated this, and remember, his translations are always, he doesn't make any sense when he talks. So this doesn't always make a lot of sense. But this basically was a post about how the A-50 that got shot down, and any of you are welcome to go and look at this and translate it yourself. How the A-50 that was downed had him on board, had fighter bomber on board. It literally says fighter bomber. A moderator for fighter bomber was on board, and he died in that A-50. So he posts this, right? A tragedy is always a tragedy, especially when it is of this scale. Whoever is there, we most likely will not know who to blame for the death of the pilots. So I don't know if he's talking. This is very weird to me. I don't really understand how this works. Fighter bomber is usually a very good source for Russian aviation losses, if anybody was curious. But I don't really know what he's referring to here, because this is talking about him dying. He didn't really confirm. He said the death of the pilots. Does he mean it? And then everybody liked it and thumbed it up. Like, it wasn't about the A-50 crashing. It was about the rumor that the A-50 crashed. And this is what everybody took, especially on the pro-Ukrainian side, as fact that he died, or fact that this plane went down. But this, usually it would be a sad, teary thing. It would be, forever, whatever, something is what he usually posts, like flying wings forever, or some stuff like that. And that's just not what he's talking about. It's very weird that he would add this joke on top of something where potentially 10 of his comrades died in a combat incident, especially a friendly fire incident. We just don't know. And I admitted the loss. Like, I brought it up. I posted about it on Twitter at the time, because it really did seem like most people were in consensus about what happened. And it's not unbelievable that this was targeted. It's actually something that the Ukrainians should be targeting. Unlike the Black Sea Fleet, this actually matters. But this doesn't make any sense. This doesn't not make any sense. And then later, he didn't post. It's been funny posts all day. He's been making jokes. Zelensky, look at the crew is always a family, one for all. And then down here, he makes another joke. Bro, I died yesterday. They wrote it everywhere. Let's remember. So I'm very, 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 very confused. We haven't seen a single piece of evidence. With the other plane, we got pictures of the tail section all shot to shit right away. With this, we have nothing. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm not denying it. I have no idea. I just can't put the pieces of the puzzle together right now. And I do think that there are definitely holes in this posting. This is incredibly odd to me. I don't get this. So one plane was damaged for sure. Another one potentially shot down. But I can't prove that to you, and nobody can. The only thing that they have to go off of is a radar, a video of a plane disappearing on radar, which, that can be faked, that can be real. I don't know. And like I said, I'm not really taking a stance on it. I'm just trying to give you guys all of the information that I possibly can. All right. Enough with this. Let's talk about Iran and what happened down south. So over the past couple of days and weeks, we've seen some pretty sharp escalations from the Israeli side of this conflict, right? We saw the Israelis begin to target Hezbollah a lot more intensely across the border. They actually struck Lebanon, where they killed some people, some leadership from Hamas as well as Hezbollah. And this was an I think, in my personal opinion, unnecessary escalation for Israel. I think Israel is in a very, very difficult situation where politically Netanyahu is coming up against hardliners in his government who want action taken, but he's also dealing with the Americans who are trying to avoid a war in this region at all costs because they can't afford it right now, both politically during the election year as well as politically in the election year, as well as militarily. Like, you just don't want to go fight another war in the Middle East. That's not on the US's agenda right now. Even the striking of Yemen was very weak, and it hasn't done anything. I mean, it was pathetic. You see the satellite images. They hit some tents at an airfield that has been bombed by Saudi Arabia for years. I mean, it was really, really quite underwhelming, and it didn't stop anything because there's been like 3 ship attacks in the Red Sea just today. A U.S. ship was also targeted, which is another escalation by the Houthis. Ansar Allah, I don't know. The Houthis, I'll just call them that. They are now targeting any ship under the flag, under a U.S. flag or U.S. ownership. So it's not just Israel now; it's all shipping. U.S. shipping companies are now recommending, or saying basically that their shipping isn't going to go through. Fix that. Their shipping's not going to go through the Red Sea. So again, the U.S.'s responses in the Middle East have been nothing compared to what people probably expect. The U.S. looks very weak, very timid, and I believe that some of these actors now in the regions are starting to take advantage of that. Sort of the give them an inch and they'll take a mile sort of deal is what's going on, and I just believe that's because the U.S. is slowly starting to the U.S. hegemony, the empire is starting to experience a lot of pressure from a lot of different angles, and they just can't do it all in their current position. So after these strikes by the IDF on Hezbollah leadership, which I mean, it's a war. They can strike whoever they want. I don't think they really put civilians in the way when they struck these 3 guys in a vehicle or around a vehicle. I'm not sure. I don't think any civilians died collaterally, so it was a perfectly fine strike. But what it does do is open you up to the potential for a retaliation. And I don't think anybody was really expecting the retaliation to come in the form that it did. But tonight we had the Ukrainians launch multiple ballistic missiles. Wait, what did I just say? Did I say the Ukrainians? I meant the Iranians. Launch multiple ballistic missiles at the around the U.S. Consulate in Iraq. They struck in this area, and I believe it's what they would call the green zone. I'm going to share my Twitter again so we can go through sort of some of the strikes. In the area that's the green zone, we saw some pretty devastating ballistic missile hits. It was like 8 in one area. I want to show the video. Let's see. Oh, this isn't the right one. Let's see. I have a better one. But the weapons that were utilized were the feta cheese, 110 ballistic missiles of the IRGC. rocket forces. These are very large ballistic missiles that utilize a 500 kilogram high explosive warhead. So they did some pretty significant damage. I will now. I mean, this area is getting absolutely rocked, right? Oh, again, another one. One potentially got shot down. That's kind of what that looks like. I don't know what that is. But yeah, significant strike, right? This is no joke. And very, very luckily, the U.S. Comes out and says we had no casualties, no U.S. assets in the region were targeted, the embassy wasn't hit, the airfield wasn't hit. So, what did the Iranians target in the green zone that was worth that many rockets hitting one spot? And I'm going to go ahead and give you my what I think happened and what the Iranians are saying, and it just makes logical sense to me. I do believe that they targeted an Israeli facility in the green zone around near the U.S. embassy. I mean, of all the places you are going to have Israeli presence in Iraq, why wouldn't it not be around the U.S. presence in Iraq, right? So they struck what I believe to be an Israeli facility. I don't know what they were doing there. I don't know. I'm not going to make any claims. I'm not saying anybody important was killed. I'm not saying anything like that. I think they had intelligence that there was an Israeli operation going on in the building that was hit. They absolutely leveled that building. And they did no damage to the U.S. because the U.S. and Iran, I think, are kind of in this point of agreement. They're in contention, but they're in agreement where they both don't really want to start a war with each other. They don't want to go kinetic against each other. They just don't want it. So what they're actually doing is being very, very deliberate and careful in their strikes. And I do not believe that this one was given fair warning. I think that this was a message to the Israelis. Basically that they are going to act and strike sensitive targets that the Israelis, some people are saying Mossad base. I'm not going to go ahead and say that because I just don't know. But if it's any Israeli intelligence, it's Mossad. So potentially, yes. But the U.S. and Iran do not want to go to war right now. The U.S. definitely doesn't want a regional conflict. And Iran, I mean, if Iran goes to war, it's just not going to be good, right? It's going to be one of those things that, there we go. I didn't mean to click that. Oops. It's going to be one of those things where Iran is probably not going to come out very okay afterwards. The best thing to do is continue expanding their sphere of influence without, poking the bear and actually getting themselves into a war that they don't really want to be in. Economically, they don't want to be in it. Politically, it's not what they want. So there was that strike in Israel, and then there was also a strike in Syria that apparently hit a Kurdish. It was either Kurdish or ISIS or both. I don't really know how people delineate. I know Kurds and ISIS are very different, but they apparently struck. I'm trying to remember. He's the head of the Falcon Group, which is basically a CIA. What I would say is a CIA plant. He runs a private military company, a PMC, that hires a lot of Americans, I do believe. And so he died in this strike in Syria, and I believe that this was a message basically that Iran is not going to give up Syria, because part of a lot of the talk about a rapprochement between Iran and the U.S. is that Iran kind of takes its hands away from Syria, and it just doesn't seem like from these strikes that that's what Iran is doing. I think they're sending a very clear message that they are in Syria and they are going to stay there. I think that's all I really had to talk about today. Those are my opinions. If you guys want to throw up questions, let's do some questions. Let's get it going. I would love to hear from you guys. What you're thinking? Give me hit me. Let's go. Let's get into it. I'm waiting on you, slow pokes. Taking forever. How can you question me? You just throw your questions up in the chat and I'll answer them. And then if I miss your question, I'm sorry. I just kind of answer them and I get my own world. But if you guys want to support me, an easy way that you can support me is through super chat, super thanks. And all of those questions I answer in very good detail. So if you guys actually have a question that you really want to get through, or you just feel like helping me out and supporting me in my work, which I do a lot of work for this. I did like 8 hours of work today. Work. It's not really work, but doing geolocations, adding them to the map, updating the map, posting, doing all that stuff. So it is a lot of work, and I do appreciate every time you guys help me out. It just makes it so I can focus on this a lot more, and I don't have to worry about other stuff. Let's see. Chances China moves on Taiwan in 2024. Unless the U.S. forces China to move on Taiwan in 2024, I don't think that they're going to do it. The Chinese think in decades and centuries, not days and months like the Americans do. So don't expect big moves. They know that they'll win over time, and that's how they're going to go about it. The U.S. is on the clock. The Chinese know that. The U.S. knows that. So if something comes out of the Chinese, something comes from the Americans that forces the Chinese to, it forces the Chinese hand, kind of like how I believe the situation in Ukraine unfolded, then who knows? But I don't think the U.S. is really going to be in the situation to support that war, especially while Ukraine is ongoing. It's going to be very difficult. Let's see. Oh yeah, shit. I forgot to talk about the Ukrainian peace plan. So there is I'm hearing a lot of hubbub about the Davos meeting in Switzerland, where the Ukrainians are requesting an emergency meeting about a peace plan. Again, this is the same bullshit from a year ago. The Ukrainians are going in there to tell everybody that their peace plan, the Ukrainian peace plan, is that the Russians should just leave everything, and then after the Russians leave, then we can negotiate peace. It's fucking ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. So it's almost not even worth talking about at this point. If Russia's not present at the talk, it's not worth anybody's time. I bet you're going to hear some complaints coming out of the at least the Chinese delegation there when they talk about how the Ukrainians are completely, have completely lost the plot. What's the combined weight of your 3 dogs? Definitely over 200 pounds. Hades, we took him to the vet. He weighs like 150-ish. He's right around 150. My American Bulldog is about 100 pounds. And then my Sammy Girl is 60. So way over 200 pounds. Let's see. No, so somebody says right here, the A50 can't be friendly fire. They have a system for friendly foe system. Yeah, that it should, and that's one of the things that people were talking about, was that the friend or foe system did not work. Either you have a Eager Beaver on the AD air defense system, or you have just some sort of error occurs. But Russia has shot down their own aircraft in the past. So their friend or foe system either needs to be corrected, but I don't know yet. Thanks for the info you collect and put out for Kalibrated. No problem. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you guys being here. I do it so that this information gets out and you guys can be more well informed, and you can tell other people about what's going on. Do you believe the official stories that, i.e. Austin and the 2 SEALs? The 2 SEALs is weird, but I think that also there's a lot of activity going on. There are a lot of uh, indicators going off everywhere. You know, lights are coming on like you're in a car that has it having engine failure and you haven't changed the oil in years and the brakes don't work and so on and so forth. Every little thing seems like it would be connected. I made a joke about oh, I'll be on the lookout for, mysterious helicopter crashes in the next week because of the Iranian strikes. The U.S. always says that they have no losses. Then a couple days later, somebody died of a heart attack because of stress, or a helicopter goes down and 5 guys die. It would be a convenient way to cover up losses that you don't want to make public because you don't want to have to respond to something like these Iranian strikes. Perhaps the United States is saying we didn't get targeted, we don't want anything to do with this. But if an American dies in these strikes, um, they might just say, "Oh, it didn't happen," and then a car accident happens in Iraq or something, like that, and then somebody dies. But everybody's also trying to apply everything to the situation that they're currently focused on. It's how the human brain works. We look for patterns, we look for connections all over the place. So, I don't know what happened with Austin. I don't think the Russians targeted Austin. I don't see why the Russians would do that. They don't want. It doesn't seem like the Russians have been in any sort of like, oh, we want to hurt the Americans. I'm sure they're not. I mean, they're not happy, but the Russians still, even to this day, see America as a potential trading partner. That's what America is. That's what Europe is. So that's never going to change. Money is never going to change, and I don't think killing Austin, Steve Austin, uh, Austin, Defense Secretary, is going to do anything. I don't think it really benefits Russia. So I'm pretty sure it's just cancer. And actually, the more important story with uh, Austin is that the Pentagon did not tell the White House for days that he was out of action. That means that there is somebody else there making decisions, and they're just not informing the White House, so that the communication is breaking down. I see that as sort of a power struggle, because people in the White House might want to start making decisions over the Pentagon if the person in the Pentagon who's in charge is now out of action and sick. Floyd Austin. Iran might just have had enough. Why they not attack via the Houthis? Because the Houthis are very limited in what they can do. They're actually doing quite a lot with how limited their resources are. They do have missiles. They do have swarm boat tactics, stuff like that. But really, when you have a carrier group or something right off the coast, the air defense on that is very strong, and it would take a lot of saturation to do significant damage to that fleet that the Houthis just aren't really capable of doing. So to act through them in an escalation manner, especially when everybody's watching them, waiting for stuff to basically, anytime a missile is launched, everybody's like waiting for it. They're all watching. So acting out through them is not the way to do it. Acting out through their militias and their proxies in Iraq is definitely the way that they can put some pressure on the U.S. But I don't really think it's about the U.S. I think it's about Israel, and they're already putting a lot of pressure on them on the northern border with Hezbollah. And now these strikes hitting sensitive targets in Iraq is another clear message, I believe. I know you can't say how long it'll take for Avdiivka to fall, but what do you think will be the process of that? Like, what parts will fall in what order? Yeah, so I think that basically the goal right now, like I showed on the map, is that the Russians are going to try to come down just south of the coke plant and basically separate the industrial area to the north and the city to the south. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that's how the operation is going to unfold, because everything goes, nothing really goes according to plan. No plan survives first contact. But I do believe that the Russians are going to try to separate the city, take the actual city part, and then focus on the outlying towns and the Avdiivka coke plant. And I bet it'll probably take about 6 months. I bet we'll almost see the exact same thing we saw with the Bakhmut operation, where it's wrapping up right as the summer months start to begin. Things start to dry out. He's got prostate cancer and had surgery complications. Yeah, people don't know if that's true, but I do believe it's true. I mean, you got to remember these are old dudes. They're all 60, almost 70. You know, this is when stuff starts going wrong. You start getting a lot of cancer, stuff like that. So, is the U.S. suppressing casualty numbers in the Iraqi missile strikes? I don't know, but I don't think so. I don't think that they were targeted. Would Russia help Iran if it got invaded? If Iran got invaded, I think you'd basically be looking at World War III. So, I mean, help not probably directly, but help in other ways, very much potentially, yes. I don't think they're going to like ship men down there to fight, but they'll have their own front to be dealing with. So, yeah, I think that would be World War III, especially because at that point, Hezbollah, the Houthis, everybody would go on the attack, and then it would just escalate. Yeah, the Houthis have ghetto missiles. Iran has the good accurate ones, I guess, and this needed to be an accurate strike to not hit the US. That I mean, just the distance from Yemen to Iraq is incredibly far, and the I mean, other than like hitting the Saudi oil fields or something like that, there's not a lot that the Houthis could do to the Americans. I mean, even if they launched a full salvo at the ships, there's no guarantee that they actually hit the ships, or that the damage that is done is significant enough to actually make it matter. Let's see. If things go bad, can Russia face war in two fronts? Oh, I mean, I don't know where would that second front be. But yes, the Russians can deal with a second front, especially now that they are very, very warmed up to the conflict at hand. I don't know where this second front would be, but yes, the Russians could at least respond in a defensive manner to a second front and deal with it. I don't think they'll be going on any offensives on any second fronts. I don't even know where that would be. What's your stance regarding pineapple on pizza? Hey man, listen, if you guys, it's your money, it's your fucking mouth. If you want to eat whatever you want to eat, who cares? Just go ahead and eat your pineapple on your pizza. I don't really like the sweet on savory. I just don't like pineapple is just not the flavor I want on pizza. But if you like it, you like it, bro. I know people that love like anchovy and pineapple pizza because of like the flavor combinations. It's not for me. I'm from New Mexico, so we have green chili here. We put green chili on everything. And we have green chili pizza with like pepperoni. It's so good. It's bomb. I like that, but I bet people wouldn't like it. And so, yep, no, I'm not a big pineapple pizza guy, but that's just personal. Do you own any firearms? Yes, I own a bunch of firearms. Please. We have the Second Amendment in this country for a reason. And while I love other countries around the world, I do believe it's what makes America unique. And yes, I do own a significant number of firearms. Let's see. Did the Kremlin help Iran achieve its goals? I mean, through economic support and political support, perhaps, but not kinetically. What's your background that you are informative about military matters? I just have had a very strong interest in everything geopolitics and military for a long time, studied a long time. Nothing really, like I don't have any direct military experience. I have some I would say SWAT level security experience in a previous job that position that I held. A lot of shooting training is what I did. Basically, I know how to shoot a gun really well. I know basic field first aid, tourniquets and stuff like that, so on and so forth. But when it comes to like combined arms stuff, not really. I know how to clear a house, clear a room. I've done a lot of kill rooms, but I've never I was never in the military, so all of my military appreciation comes from history and just studying conflicts, and particularly Ukraine, because it was one of the it was sort of like my Vietnam when it was going on in 2014. I was a young man and I realized that I was being lied to, and I didn't really like that very much. So I kind of made this my hobby. I watched it for 8 years, and then I got more involved when the war started in 2022, when the full scale war started. Let's see. Will you sign my petition regarding justice for Gonzalo Lira? Yes, I will. Send me a link. I will sign that. That was an American citizen that was just left to rot in a prison in a foreign country, and it's abysmal that happened. It just still it makes you lose faith in the country that you once had faith in. Let's see. Wipe back to front or front to back? I think that only really applies for women, right? I think that's the concern is women don't want to wipe back to front. I don't wipe. That's where I'm going to leave that. I'm my own man. I don't play by society's rules. So take that. Probably front to back. I don't know. That's a funny question though. Wouldn't Biden have known immediately if he was done? Wait, wouldn't Biden have known immediately if he was done in Ukraine? I don't know what that question means. If you want to rephrase that, I might answer that. Scott, which political camp in the U.S. do you think is winning right now? The anti-China camp or the anti-Russia camp? I think that's the same camp. Those two camps are just the warmongers, right? People like Lindsey Graham who want to strike Russia, China, and Iran all tomorrow and think that that's the best way to go about things. That's all the same people. I think that there are people who believe that we have to take on Russia first, separate them from China, then take on China later when they're isolated. That I think those are all pipe dreams now. I think that whole way of thinking is just gone. People are still thinking in that way. They still think they can win, but I believe that the route to success there is just evaporated. It just doesn't exist after 2022 and 2023. Let's see. What happened in northern Myanmar? I don't know. I don't even know. I try to follow that conflict. It is like, for me, that conflict is kind of like the Azerbaijani Armenia conflict. I have no interest in the region. I know that it's important for the global situation. I don't even know really who the sides are. I think the Chinese are involved in some way, right? They either back the rebels or the government. It's brutal, and it just kind of makes me sad, and it's like a gross little civil war, kind of the same way Donetsk was. It is just very, very sad. People dying for really. I mean, I'm sure there's a reason that they believe in. So, but I don't want to minimize that. But people dying in what seems like a pointless war to me. Hello, Scott. I was permabanned on Ballistic Brotherhood and Kalibrated. I must admit, I deserved it, but is there any chance you could help appeal that? Thank you. Send me a message on Instagram or Telegram or Twitter, and I'll see. I'll see what you did. Let's see. What's your military background? I already kind of went over that. I never served in the military. I have a bunch of friends that are in the military though, so I know the lingo, the jargon, stuff like that. Kind of got a good insight, and I have some really good friends that are in the military, friends that I talk to all day for days. And so I got a pretty good insight to sort of the morale right now in the military for the U.S. and what's going on. At least 2 years ago. He's out now, but so I have some knowledge of U.S. military, at least at the lower, like the private level, but I have no personal military experience. Blaming Russia again. Yeah, per usual. It's what happens. Never served in the military, but I saved 15% of my car insurance with Geico. Yep. Do you guys prefer the Geico Gecko or the Caveman? That was a commercial in the playoffs this week. Curious as to your guys' thoughts. Let's see. Oh, we got one. Let's see. From Martin, MDL. Do you think Lloyd Austin was sharing a NATO command bunker with Kinjal missiles when he became ill? No, I don't think so. I think he probably just honestly has prostate cancer, which is so much more real and sad than, he actually had complications from his surgery. I think that is a very real thing. Like I said earlier, the thing you should be paying attention to is the difference between, and not the difference. Sorry, what you should be paying attention to is how the Pentagon did not tell the White House that he was sick for days and days and days while all this very important stuff was going on. I do think that there's sort of a power struggle right now between some of the hardliners in DC, some of the warmongers in DC, and some of the people in the Pentagon. Thank you, Martin, for that $5 donation. I appreciate it. Let's see. Do you see World War III as a likely event? Yeah. I think it's going to look very different than how everybody thinks World War III is going to look. It's not going to be like nukes flying and big arrow offensives by one nation against another. It's going to be a more intense version, in my personal opinion. It's going to be a more intense version of the Cold War, where we see proxy engagements all over, but I don't think it's going to last 60 years. I believe it's going to last, or 40, 50 years. I think it's going to last much closer to 10 years. And it's going to be a much higher intensity. You're going to see conflicts pop up here, 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 and here, until eventually one side, either economically, politically, has to turn in on itself and become smaller. Sort of like we saw with the collapse of the Soviet Union. So just take the Cold War and all of its proxy wars, all the fighting in Africa, the Middle East, Afghanistan, stuff like that, and compress it down into 10 years. I think that's what World War III is going to look like. And I do believe that we're already in it. If you at the beginning of 2023, I wouldn't have said that, but now I would say that. Maybe the U.S. invades Vladivostok. Oh, for that second front. Maybe. That's that would be the end of us all. So it's illegal to be pro-Ukrainian in Russia. No, it's not illegal to be pro-Ukrainian in Russia. It's illegal to, at least from what I've seen, it's illegal to protest without required permits, which you probably cannot get. So protesting against the war, especially in certain cities, is not allowed, which is pretty normal for any country during any war. And then as long as you're not discrediting the armed forces of the Russian Federation, no, it is not illegal to be pro-Ukrainian. You might be watched under suspicion, as there has been a lot of sabotage and stuff like that. But no, it is not illegal to be pro-Ukrainian. How many former Wagner fighters are still in the war, and where are they concentrated? I think it was 10 to 20,000 are still in the war. And some are in Russian MOD units, some signed contracts with the Russian MOD, some are with Wagner still. So I think probably around 10,000 is probably the number I would say. How many Germans does it take to screw in a light bulb? I don't know, man. Green chili pasta sounds like it'd be awesome with pineapple. Yes, clown. It would definitely be delicious. I might have to try it. I don't mind pineapple. It's just I never go for it. Like a branch Davidian about how to firearms. Not that many. I have a couple rifles, a good number of pistols, a couple shotguns. So I'm set up. I got the weapons I like, but I have more than the average American, I would say, but less than some of the more eccentric Americans. Chocolate cheese pizza, gross. You're banned, permanently banned. Get out of here. I didn't know I had a timeout. I can put people in timeout. Let's see. How do you think the ICG will rule in this historic case? Uh, who cares? Who gives a fuck? They made Putin a international criminal, wanted. So I don't really think the opinion of the ICJ matters at all. It would be funny though if they said that the Israelis were committing genocide. That would be icing on the cake. But I don't care. They're still training the Belarusian army. Yes, Belarusian training is still going on, as well as the modernization of their military equipment. That happens in Russia. We've seen that a lot. Trains moving back and forth across the border with modernized equipment on them. These questions. Yeah, trust me. Any more questions down here? Green or red hat? Okay, so this is a question for all of you that don't know. It's always our state question is green or red, right? We have green and red chili. When it comes to like breakfast burritos, I prefer green chili. It also depends on how the chili is served. If it's like a chili sauce, I like green chili sauce, but actual like green chili like chunks is not my favorite texture wise. It's okay when it's on the pizza because you don't really get the texture and it's cooked. But I would say red if it's chili sauce, green if it's actual chili. What do you expect from the future of BRICS with its new members? BRICS is going to take a long time to come into fruition. It's going to be sort of this new, smaller option to the U.S. To the U.S.'s financial banking system. When they end up coming out with it, I do think it's going to benefit a lot of these smaller countries that have been kind of under the boot of the US for a long time. You'll see a lot of alliances and allegiances sort of shift. A lot of countries become more self reflective and thinking more about what they need and their interests instead of, their proxy or their masters, what their master wants. Good night. Good night, everybody who's getting off. I'm just going to answer a couple more, see if there's any more down here. Why can't we see the body? What body? I don't know what you're talking about. Should we be sorry for Mick Enforcer? No, I don't know what that means. For military industrial complex Enforcer. Sorry, I don't know if sorry is the right word, but something. Would it be possible to make? Would it make sense to sabotage the oil facilities in Syria from which the U.S. extracts oil, if possible? I don't know. I don't think the U.S. is going to be in Syria for much longer. So, in terms of destroying oil facilities, I don't think that's really the right way to go about it when they're just going to come back under Syrian control eventually. What does Wagner do now? Do they operate in Belarus? I do believe Wagner still has its Africa operations going. So there's still training of African countries going on. They have a presence in Burkina Faso and Mali right now. So, yeah. How is Russia and the Saheli getting on? Sahel? I don't. It just reminds me of Sangheili from Halo. I don't know who that is. Let's see. Why do you think Blinken, why do you think Bild published the Russian plan to take over Europe? Don't they know? I don't read Bild, so somebody would have to show me that. But this is just the boogeyman. We can spend as much money as we want in any direction we want as long as we have a boogeyman, and that's Russia. They're failing in Ukraine, but they're gonna take over Europe. It's awesome. Let's see. How many Californians does it take? 6. One to turn. Here we go. Got a joke for you. It's always good. All right. I think that's where I'm going to leave it off. If you guys have any more questions that you want answered, you can always DM me. I love having conversations with you guys. I appreciate you all so much. Oh, wow. This is a long one, an hour and 10 minutes. Thank you so much. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Be sure to like and subscribe. Oh, and I got a big interview coming up this week. So be on the lookout for that. A very, very big interview. It's going to be a good one to watch. So that video will be published. That won't be alive, but be on the lookout for that. It's you guys probably watch his content already. So be on the lookout for that. Everybody take care. If you like this, please share the video, like the video, subscribe to me if you have not subscribed. And follow me on Twitter, Telegram, and you can support me on Patreon. Take care, everybody. Have a great day.